Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now again, this is the third of those that I did the flash video for yesterday evening. This is the one that makes me laugh. Humza Yousaf is a man who really is out of his depth. He sits and words come out of his mouth, but I don't think they've passed through the filter of his brain. I think they've just been self-generated by some small Labour-centric AI deep within his core. He states that he feels that Labour are definitely going to win the next election. He says that Labour need to take Scotland in order to win the next election, and that he is willing to work with Labour. He should be fighting against Labour. Labour in Scotland are the enemy. They are the ones that are going to destroy the SNP, both at this general election and then come the Holyrood elections. They could be wiped out again there. And rather than bringing the fight to Labour and highlighting what Labour's problems would be, like any normal party leader would do when faced with, the opposition of basically this behemoth rolling down the track at you, he's laid on his back, exposed his belly like some cowering cur, and he's basically saying, "Oh, please, Mr. Keir Starmer, don't beat us too bad. We'll be very nice to you and maybe you'll give us a second referendum." Keir Starmer, of course, has already said he won't. Let's have a look. For a man who's supposedly the leader of his party, he really has got zero political nous, hasn't he? He doesn't understand anything. And it is no wonder the SNP are collapsing about our eyes. Their membership's falling, the sponsorship's failing, they've got no money, they're nearly bankrupt. They've got their own politicians are abandoning ship and jumping to other parties. And why? It's because they're led by this idiot. Humza Yousaf's general election tactics, he's got some, has he? Leaves SNP MPs tearing their hair out as he makes a plea to Labour. In Scotland, they are the opposition. They are the big bad. They are the ones that's going to destroy the SNP. And he goes kissing the ring of Starmer, kissing the ring of Anna Sawar, because he doesn't want Labour to completely obliterate him for some reason. Who knows what the hell is going on in his tiny, tiny mind. The nationalist leader predicted Sir Keir Starmer does need Scotland to win the general election, as his messaging was branded chaotic. Well, of course it's chaotic. To do anything requires a brain, and we know, first of all, your average SNP politician is very, very low. There are a couple of bright ones, but mostly not. And indeed, they are very suspicious, I think. The party's very suspicious of clever SNP politicians. They don't like promoting the clever ones, because the clever ones might actually succeed and do something. That's not the SNP way. Humza Yousaf's general election tactics are leaving his own MPs baffled, as he once again said that there was no chance Sir Keir Starmer was not going to be Prime Minister. And I think we generally all can agree with that. In an interview with the BBC's Laura Kuenssberg, the First Minister claimed he was willing to work with Labour, despite also predicting the party would comfortably win the election, and indeed whip over half his seats away come the general election, whenever that shall be. Probably, as I've always maintained, October. They want to get March, they want to get the election, the budget done. They want a few lower interest rates at the Bank of England. They want the tax cuts to hit in. They want people to feel a bit better, and then they'll go to the country. It won't save them, but it may reduce the loss. His position has left his own party uncomfortable, with dozens of Nat MPs fearing for their seats at the next general election. That's not including all the ones that have already gone. They're all saying they're retiring, or they've already jumped ship and things like that. Because the moment he became leader, people went, "We're going to lose. We're going to lose. It's all over." And they saw it. The writing was on the wall the day he won. In Scotland, Labour has caught the SNP in the polls, sparking fears among the nationalist ranks over how many will lose their jobs. And the more the merrier. I mean, I'd like them all to go, but it's not likely. But tactical voting, you could get them down to single figures, and that, of course, would be the end of Humza Yousaf. Asked about his comments on the Sunday show, Scottish Labour leader Anna Sawar said, "You can see why SNP MPs are tearing their hair out." He says, and an analysis piece Kunzberg said that MP expressed dismay and anger to her about Mr. Yousaf's claims, with his argument described as all over the place, because he doesn't know where to go. He literally hasn't got a clue which way to jump. He knows Labour are the enemy in Scotland, and he knows he has to fight Labour in Scotland. But he also knows that Labour will form the next Parliament, the next government. And so if he fights too hard in Scotland, he'll alienate himself from Sir Keir Starmer, and knowing that Sir Keir, of course, is the only person who can grant him a referendum. So what does he do? He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Does he fight to maintain control of Scotland for the SNP? Or does he expose his belly and kiss the ring of Keir Starmer in the hope that Starmer will offer them a referendum? But the thing is, if they lose too many seats in Scotland, cut Starmer, who's already said he doesn't want to do it. We'll just look at him and go, yeah, but you're a weak force now. You're not. Look, nobody votes for you anymore. Why should I offer you the referendum? You cannot. I honestly, I'm getting lost for words, aren't I? I am honestly at a loss as how someone, quite literally, and I don't mean this like hyperbole or anything, I mean it quite genuinely, I'm at a loss how someone so obviously stupid as Humza Yousaf has managed somehow to climb the greasy pole to become the leader of the party. The man is inadequate. He's not a leader. He holds no command. People don't respect him. His own party just look at him, and his own party knows he's already yesterday's man. He is quite literally a dead duck leader. They're all waiting, really, to see who's going to come next. And, of course, they all know it's going to be Kate Forbes. He's marking time, isn't he? He's like that guy who's in the last couple of years before retirement. He doesn't want to rock the boat. He just wants to turn up, do his job, and then bugger off and take the pension. And that's where he is. And what does he want? He needs to fight for the SNP. He needs to fight for his cause. His party expect him to fight for them, and he is giving up. And that's why all his backbenchers and why his MPs and all the party members all see that he is not the leader of the party. And that's why a lot of them are very, very worried. And that's why those Chinese whispers are now turning into open calls for revolt. I don't think he'll see Easter at this rate. And I've said this before. I think he could be gone by Easter. Anyway, the Scottish Express also understands there's friction between Mr Yousaf and high-ranking SNP politicians at Westminster, as he tells voters that a Labour win is inevitable. Mr Yousaf had previously predicted a hung parliament last year. Nobody predicted a hung parliament. If he predicted a hung parliament, it shows that he is not paying attention. He tried to set himself up as kingmaker for Sir Keir. Again, never going to happen. Asked about the situation in an interview with Kunzberg on Sunday, the SNP leader said Sir Keir Starmer is 20 to 25% ahead of the polls. He's going to be the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and I'm going to suggest only for a short time there'll be a coup within the Labour Party and you'll have someone else take over. Possibly Rayner, and God help us all if that's the case. She left school, couldn't read and write. Imagine that as Prime Minister. He says, I don't think you could point me to a single poll that doesn't show that this isn't a case. I could point you to every poll that is going to show you that it isn't going to be a hung parliament, Humza. Do wake up, smell the coffee. Oh no, you can't afford it anymore, can you? Not with all that tax on it. Kunzberg put it to Mr Yousaf that he was deeply misleading to say that it was inevitable who became the next Prime Minister, as it was probably 10 months away. But Mr Yousaf repeated his point, saying, if you can show me a single poll that's suggesting it's going to be a marginal election, I would love to see it because I've not seen it at all. Well, yes, but time ticks on. Like I say, lowering those tax rates, lowering the interest rates, people with money in their pocket, who knows? It often helps. Anyway, despite admitting Labour would not need the SNP votes in the Commons to pass legislation, Mr Yousaf said he'd written to Sir Keir requesting a meeting. And he tied the case for Scottish independence to the SNP's performance at the general election. Oh, that's a very poor thing to do, isn't it? Considering you're about to have your arse handed to you. Anyway, there we go. So that's it. Basically, we're there. He's telling people Labour are going to win. It's going to be a big win for Labour. They're going to need Scotland in order to win big. So Labour are obviously the enemy, but he won't fight Labour because he doesn't want to upset Labour. It's time he left the SNP and joined Labour, isn't it? What a sad, delusional fool. And I pity everyone who has to even work with him. It's the one time I'm actually pitiful of SNP members. They have to work with him. It's like the only job that man can function and do in that office is to stand in the corner with a pointy hat with a big D on it. That's his job. He really is that thick, isn't he? Anyway, I shall come up. It's been amusing, but I shall come up. Imagine how much more effective the SNP campaign against Labour would be if they had Kate Forbes in charge. A lot of people in the SNP, and I don't mean like necessarily the backbenchers at Holyrood or the Westminster lot, but even now, some higher ranked MSPs and MPs must start be looking to changing and getting him out. They must see now he is toxic, he's a liability, he's not very good at his job, and they must start realising that he is about to cost a lot of them their jobs. They have to get him out now. They have to get Kate Forbes in. They have to give Kate that run, that little chance of leadership, that chance to change, to push, to be seen, and to raise the profile. That's the only saving face they have. If they stick with him, they're done. And at least half of them will have gone, possibly more. And of course, it's not just this. It'll be the local elections next, then the Holyrood elections. Things will change. A lot of people now see that Humza Yousaf was the wrong choice. Buyer's remorse. They selected him and now they wish they hadn't, because they selected him because the party was pushing him. They didn't select him because he's any good, because they know full well he isn't. But it was what the party wanted, and they were good, loyal party people. But that loyalty's gone now because that old cabal has broken up, destroyed, and may end up in prison. Anyway, I shall finish there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later.